Is everyone ready?
Sure. Scotty's not coming?
He said he wasn't coming
Is all
today.
good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good, summer pieces.
Go ahead.
All right, week 4 press conference, speak for the South Carolina State game coming up on Saturday, 6 p.m. in Orangeburg. Citadel football head coach, Royce Drake. Coach.
Hello. Good afternoon. First, I want to thank everyone who traveled to the game, who came from near and far. That's not an easy trip. I want to thank all the supporters who've reached out via text, phone call, etc. Just sending well wishes and positive energy, going forward. As it pertains to our SoCon opener at UTC, they're a very, very good football team, which we knew. Very well coached, which we knew that going in. So let's talk about the good from the game. The good is our starting safety, Carson Walter, had 10 tackles. The good is sophomore, young man, number 43, Jamazon Roberts, had 5 tackles. And true freshman, number 34, Bradley Jones, had 4 tackles. We had 11 Bulldogs who caught a pass, had a reception, which is good. I guarantee you that hadn't been done around here in a long time. But the disappointing part, right, we'll just jump right into it. And we always owe the truth to our supporters, those who invest their time. So the truth is, we paraded around as if we were ready to get on a bus, go 8 hours, stay in our first hotel overnight trip away from home, and we weren't ready. We live by 4 pillars. Those pillars: team first, be on time, no excuses, be a man. And those pillars were broken. Surprisingly though, it wasn't our freshmen. It was our upperclassmen reverting back to business as usual. And that is what has to change. Anytime that occurs, you do not have a focus at your task at hand. And it's going to result in a lack of ball security, which we saw. It's going to result in a fumble. It's going to result in a turnover and downs that's 4th and inches, and we are built to move forward. It's going to result in misassignments. We had 6 penalties for 55 yards. Chatty had 0. That's uncharacteristic for us, but it goes back to not being ready. On yesterday, we reminded our young men that we have to be totally vested in this program. It's not a sometime thing, it's an all the time thing. Regurgitating our pillars in our team meeting is one thing, but we can't just talk it. We have to walk it. We have to live it. It has to be who you are inside your being, inside your core. Yes, our team did a good job in the spring, and everyone was excited. Yes, our team did a great job in the summer, and everyone was excited. But that's the easy time to do it. You don't have class. You don't have your military obligations as a cadet. You're not a student athlete at that time. So it's easy to do it then. Anybody can be great for a day, 2 days, 3 days. But we are requesting our guys to be great every day. That's what sets us apart. That's the only chance we're going to have to be competitive in these games that we're playing right now. Changing the culture, changing the thought process, we're talking about it, but guess what? It's not easy. It's an everyday thing. Our young men will learn. They will understand that the program that we have in place is a mirror of life. It's not just about football. This is a mirror of life. We, as a coaching staff, we're constantly and consistently looking at ourselves. We're looking in the mirror. We're constantly learning. We're evolving. And that's something we all will learn to do, and we have to do. We're asking our young men to evolve. As I said from day one, in an ever-changing climate of NCAA football, especially the FCS version that we're playing right now, it's going to take everybody pulling in the same direction. It's going to take from the president all the way down to the lowest paid person on campus. It's going to take from the oldest alum to the youngest alum. It's going to take all of us willing to evolve, willing to buy in and move and swim in the same direction. Having said that, any questions on UTC before we move on to South Carolina State?
Coach, you touched on it a little bit last week. Obviously, the offense continues to struggle a bit finding the scoreboard. Kind of what is one or two things that you can point to why you guys haven't had success there?
Once again, and I just stated earlier, misassignments. So if we're having misassignments, what are we doing as a coaching staff that's not connecting with the young man? All right, so we're owning our part of it, and then I just spoke about the young men from this past game. That's one. Secondly, defenses are playing against this style of offense more often, week in and week out. So we have to execute at a higher grade, at a higher level.
Is it just simple as execution, anything in practice, anything kind of in film that kind of can help correct those things?
Well, definitely in practice, we take a look at that, and we change some of the mode of operation and trying to keep it fresh and trying to put young men into situations that they'll be in the game. So we try to practice to the game. So that's one thing that we do, and I'll just be quite blunt and quite frank. Some of these guys are just quite out that we're playing against. Just pretty good darn football players. They're on scholarship too. So you're not going to win every battle, but we're looking to be consistent in winning our battles.
Going off that, obviously, UTC, Campbell, Georgia Southern, as you just mentioned, 3 great programs. Do you think maybe playing these teams at the beginning of the season will kind of help you guys maybe towards the rest of the way?
Absolutely. I definitely think it will help us. As a competitor, as an athlete, you always want to play against the best, right? If that's truly who you are. And it can't do anything but help you going forward. If you take it and internalize it and take the coaching and take the lessons that you learn, excuse me.
The chunk plays that you got against Georgia Southern, where have the defense adjusted to what you're doing a little bit more, or what?
Yes, absolutely. Georgia Southern being the first game, they have a very good defense, but quite frankly, they haven't seen our film. They didn't know what we were going to do, so we were able to steal some chunk plays in that game. Now that people are watching the film, seeing the film, that's why we have to evolve the offense, which we will evolve the offense, but we can only do it at the pace that our young men can digest it. Because anytime you have those misassignments, that's not good for you.
Is Dustin expected to start on Saturday?
Yes.
Defensively, any schematic changes, anything that, I know missed tackles is something how can you address that in practice without, beating the guys up for a week?
Well, I will say this, and I say it to our young men, the tackling circuits that we do in practice are some of the best I have ever seen. And that includes from Little League all the way to the NFL. What we do in practice mimics the game, but we have to continue to do it so it becomes an innate response. All right? If someone's been tackling a certain way their whole life, all right, it's going to take more than a spring, than a summer to make it innate where it happens automatically. So we have to keep chopping wood as far as that goes. Now, schematics and these blown assignments, I'm hanging that on us as coaches because we're not teaching well enough that they're understanding it. And one of the things I pride myself on is being a good and a great teacher. I truly believe a coach has to be a great teacher. And I believe a teacher, all you teachers out there, can be great coaches. It's the same thing. It goes hand in hand.
What went into that decision to start Dustin on Saturday?
He had a better body of work for that week, and like I talked about in the previous weeks, I talked about a separation. He created a little separation, so that's why we went with Dustin. Now, we had every intention to play Grayson, but it was in situations, but the game did not dictate it at that time.
Looking forward to Saturday, obviously going up against one of your mentors. What does Buddy Pugh mean to you?
Oh, man, let me tell you something. Buddy Pugh, he's everything. And what I mean by that is, I believe it was 1995. He was the head coach at Fairfield Central. Berkeley High School was ranked nationally. I think Fairfield was ranked nationally. We met in the playoffs. And as I was watching and looking across the field, and I see this dynamic, I'm making up words now. Okay? No, it's on purpose. Because he's this figure, he's this polarizing human being that I said, man, I want to be like him. Because there was a point in my life where I wanted to be a high school coach. And not only to coach the game of football, because of the impact you can make on a community. And I've always loved what we call the one-horse towns, and that's kind of what he had at Fairfield. So that was my first, recollection of Buddy Pugh. My second recollection was when I coached his son, Bud Pugh. He played receiver here. He was also a really, really good kick returner for us. And this was under the Ellis Johnson administration. We went up to Maryland, and we got our families kicked pretty good. And for those of you who know Ellis Johnson, he doesn't hold back. He was letting us have it. I'm talking about the coaches. Up one side of the locker room and down the other. And Buddy, after the game, he just put his arm around me and said, it's not my time to get after you right now. It's my time to tell you it's going to be all right. And it was. It was all right. And then last but not least, another time that sticks out with Buddy Pugh when I think about memories is I was teaching and coaching at Goose Creek High School. I was an administrator in charge of what I call the 3 Bs, buses, books, and butts. And he called me up and said, hey, come to Orangeburg, I want to talk to you. So I go to Orangeburg, and he didn't offer me a job. He told me I was taking a job as his receivers coach. That's when Tony Elliott left South Carolina State to go to Furman. And then I stayed with Buddy for 2 years as a defensive backs coach, switched over from the receivers and ran his special teams. And I've learned countless of lessons from him.
Going off that, these two teams, I don't think have met since 2001. I guess kind of how cool is it to have this matchup back on the schedule?
It's very cool. I just wish it wasn't this year, the year he was going out. Because this is what I do know, right? Yes, it is a game with a king's ransom, but we got to come out on that right side of that W column. I also know this. The last 2 Southern Conference teams that went to Oliver C. Dawson Stadium lost. 2019, Wofford lost 28-13. 2014, Furman lost 17-7. So we have a tough task in front of us. A lot of my family members went to South Carolina State. People who I love, who are near and dear to me, are graduates of South Carolina State. It's a tough environment. When that band gets going and that crowd gets rocking, let me tell you something. We're going to have our hands full.
The historical significance of you guys going up there and playing them at their home state, it's the first time I think that's ever happened.
Yes, I think it's the first time that it ever happened. It was scheduled to happen during Hurricane Hugo, if I'm not mistaken, and the game got moved to Williams-Brice Stadium. So it was scheduled at one time, but it is very significant. I'm going to speak at Coach Pugh's Touchdown Club on Thursday, his luncheon, and Citadel supporters will be there. But Citadel supporters are there every Thursday when he has his touchdown deal. So there is a relationship between the two communities. There's a relationship between the head coaches, between the fan base. So this is good for the game. This is good for the game.
This game was already on the schedule before you got here, correct?
Yes, it was.
What about SC State's quarterback, Corey Fields, from the Baptist Hill area? What have you seen out of him?
Yeah, well, let me tell you. So first of all, South Carolina State, they have the same model as us. They recruit home first. They have 83 young men from the state of South Carolina. From the low country alone, you have Corey Fields, who is the real deal Holyfield at quarterback. Very good, product of Baptist Hill High School. You have 2 young men that I want to speak about from Goose Creek High School, Demetri Simmons, a freshman, I think he's a freshman running back. You also have an offensive lineman from Goose Creek High School, Jaden Johnson, and then a linebacker from just a stone's throw away from Burke High School, Javion Snow. So this game means a lot to those guys as well too. And I know for a fact they had it circled on the calendar for a long time.
You've talked about building your program in the process, but these in-state games, especially one like this, how big can that be, getting a win for y'all recruiting-wise too in the future?
Well, it's everything for us because I understand how big it is for them too. You know, they had a tough schedule. South Carolina State opened up against Jackson State that still has all those good players that Dion recruited. Then they had two FBS opponents. The one, Charlotte, they gave them the business. So knowing that this is Buddy Pugh's swan song, let me tell you something. They are going to be sky high to get a win in Orangeburg, their home opener, to kick off Buddy Pugh's retirement tour.
Then going off that, how imperative is it to get off to a good start, kind of get them on their heels early?
Absolutely. It's important for us to get off to a good start because of our mindset and who we are and where we are in this process is everything. So we've manipulated practice in a way where we're going to have some fast start periods to get going. We don't have time to think about it. We're just going to rock and roll. We're going to get on that bus and leave Charleston, and we're going to time this thing up in a fashion where we're not sitting around in the locker room long. We're hitting the field and we're ready to go.
When I talked to Buddy, he said he didn't want to say anything nice about you because he didn't want to lose his edge for the game. Do you feel the same way about him?
No, man. Anybody who knows me, I kill people with kindness. And once again, though, this is a ball game. And I tell my team this all the time. In life, there's winners and there's losers. And we got to get this win. Bottom line is, I got to feed my family.
Right.
All right?
And yeah, and then beating your mentor, I would think that would be a nice little feather in the cap or whatever.
Yes.
Whatever cliche you want to put.
It would be.
Yeah.
It would be.
Coach, when I talked to Buddy Pugh this summer, I asked him who his son was rooting for, and he said it better be whoever was his blood. What's your response to that?
I can get on board with that. Whatever works in his household. Those of you who know my son, he's an avid Clemson fan. And when I was at South Carolina State coaching, we played Clemson, and my son wore a Clemson jersey to the game. And I was okay with that. So much to the point where Coach Sweeney, he doesn't, or from that point going forward, he didn't refer to me as Maurice, Coach Drayton. It was always, hey, that's Montrell's dad.
That's awesome.
And Coach, we'll see you Saturday.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very
Good
much.
luck. Thank you.